My name is Ashton Richards. I'm a sales consultant with Veith Consulting, and today I'm going to walk you through the different options that are found under the event registration configuration. To get to this, we're going to have to go to Configuration on the admin menu here. Then under Other Configuration Options, you're going to find the Event Registration link. Under this link, there are multiple different tabs for various options that are all tied to event registration. These configuration options will cover all events unless specified otherwise for event settings themselves. In the general options, there are multiple things here. We're just going to walk through what each of these are going to do for you. So to start with, the Open Event Registration and New tab, when you have this enabled, anytime that someone clicks the Register for an Event button, this will take you to a new tab. Doing this is going to be helpful because it will keep people on your site's page as opposed to constantly redirecting the same page. The Hide Event Registration and Members area. This option will hide the link to event registration in the members area so that members won't be able to access the event registration at all. The Show Link to History and Membership section. This will provide a link for members to be able to see events they had registered for in the past. They must have registered as a member for the event to show up here. So if they registered before they became a member, it's not going to show up in this section. Allow members to change the attendee names on their registration's history page. This option will allow members to edit the names of the attendee attached to their registration on the event history page. They cannot change anything about the registration other than attendee names, and they cannot remove attendees. Show cancellation link in the My Membership section. Checking this box will allow for a cancellation option to appear in a member's My Membership section. Default to category view. Changes the list for event registrations page on the admin side to show the different categories instead of the individual events. This is helpful if you're trying to organize everything by categories instead of having just a long list of events. Hide all unavailable packages. By default, members can see but not register for packages that are only available for a specific member type. Enabling this will always hide the packages that are unavailable to members to select, so a non-member could select could see a member's package but wouldn't be able to select it. This could be useful for enticing non-members to register to become a member to get a discount if you have different pricing options. Enable an attendee check-in page. There's a special check-in page that allows you to scan QR codes, but the page can also be used manually to check people in. The QR codes, which also goes with the enable QR code generation for events, is most useful with the mobile app, which that is something that depending on your plan may or may not be included. The enable file upload option. This will allow registrants to be able to upload a file when they're registering for said event. You can change the verbiage on that button, which will be covered later on. Enable table registration. Table registration allows for easy registration for multiple attendees, so you'd be able to designate a package as a table package and set how many preset attendees are included with that package. So if it's 5 attendees, for example, you have your initial registrant and 4 more attendees that they would have to register for that package. The collect email addresses from table attendees option here. Instead of just collecting the email address from the primary attendee, the one who's doing the registration, enabling this option will set it so that you can collect the email addresses for all the additional attendees as well. Enable QR code generation for events. If checked, you'll have the option to include QR codes with the attendee ID on event confirmation emails. So for this, the event confirmation email that is sent out will have a QR code, and that will be useful when it comes to checking in at the event. Again, if you're using the mobile app, this is something that can easily be done. Just reach out to support to see if it's something that you can turn on or if you'd have to pay extra for, depending on which package you chose. Jump to last edited package field in editing mode. If enabled, this option will jump back to the spot on the page with a previously edited field or package. It's useful if your events have a large number of fields, custom fields, or otherwise, or if you have a lot of packages. Admin additional attendee enhanced editing. If checked, this will allow admins to choose additional attendees from a member list when adding registrations. Sort Canadian provinces to the top of state province dropdowns. This is useful if you have your default country set to Canada, which that leads right into this next option. Set default country to Canada. If you're located in Canada, instead of it being the US, you can just check this box and you'll be all set for Canada. So typically using these two in conjunction will be very helpful. The default country drop-down option will allow you to select from the long list here which country it is that you are from, which one it is that you're focusing on, and that would be your default country. Notify event admin if contact person name does not match name of first attendee. When enabled, the event admin will receive a notification email if the contact name on a registration does not match the name of the first attendee. This can be used to track if someone is using someone else's member account to register for an event. Force event contacts to re-enter email address. If enabled, this will add an additional field below the email address for event contacts to re-enter their email. The email and the two fields must match in order to proceed with registration. Enables CEU tracking by event field. So this is useful if you are awarding credit hours for attending an event. You can go through and you can set multiple different options here. By enabling or disabling it, you'll see that all these name fields will appear or disappear accordingly. Currently there are 15 name fields. If you need any more than 15, feel free to reach out to support. Next is enable attendance tracking by field. A more detailed level of tracking, able to say if a sub-session was attended when it was set up as a custom field. When you're setting up custom fields, you can set it up as a separate session. That's something that will be covered and talked about in a different video. Enable event task list. If enabled, this will add a link in the admin event listing for a task list per event. Admins can enter in tasks to be completed and then mark them off as they are finished. Move complete registration button at end of registration to top of page. By default, the button to complete a registration is at the bottom of the page, but if you choose to enable this option, it will instead move the button to the top right next to the contact information section. For the time zone section, this will just allow you to select which time zone it is that you're in. This is useful when it comes to sending out a confirmation email and it lists the time. It will default to whatever this time zone is here. Disable daylight savings. If you live in an area that doesn't follow daylight savings, you can toggle this on and be exempt from anywhere that calculates in daylight savings time. So for the United States, if you live in Arizona and you don't follow daylight savings time, you could just enable this option and you could bypass that. Event registration admin email. This is the email address that members submitted events are sent to for approval. These events only show up after the main admin has approved them and made them active. Default size for event field images. If you're attaching images to fields, the image is displayed at maximum height and width of 150 pixels. You can override that by entering a new value in this field. Again, the default is 150 options. The email lookup option, as well as the force login option, both of these are used during event registration. The email lookup option will prompt the registrant or would-be registrant for their email at the beginning. It will then check the database against that email that they entered, and if that email does exist, then that person will continue with their membership record and be able to register as a member. The force login option provides two options. One option where you can enter your username and password for your membership status, and the other would be the guest option. In both cases, if you're a guest, you're not going to have access to members only packages or other members perks that come with that registration. Allow non-members to join as part of registration. After the contact info page, it will ask anyone who has registered so far as a guest whether their email existed or they clicked the guest button. It will ask if they'd like to join as part of the registration process. If they decide that they would like to join, then it will go through these options here if you have this enabled. If you disable it, those options disappear. The generate username, password, and send welcome email. This will end up making it so that admins will have to manually create a username and send the welcome email to that new registrant. The display custom membership fields during member signup. This comes into play if you've set up custom dynamic fields for specific member types, and those member types end up falling under whatever plan it is that you're allowing to be registered during event registration. Display product type category fields during member signup. This option will include the custom organization product types on the membership signup page if the person decides that they'd like to register as a new member during event registration. Allowed for discounts on membership dues during registration. In the member type options, if you have this checked, then you can set up a discount for signing up during event registration. Payment of dues as part of registration. This is attendee based. This allows for the payment of dues as part of registration. This is per attendee and if they're hard linked to a member record. Restrict registrants with unpaid invoices. If this is checked, it's based on email address lookup, and this will restrict registration if there are any prior unpaid registrations or past due membership invoices. So if someone hasn't paid any kind of invoice and they still owe for that, then they will not be able to register for an event until that is paid. Restrict non-members. This will stop non-members from being able to select member packages as defined in the event, so the members would have to log in to register for the event, and they'd have access to those packages. Override non-member restriction by email lookup. If the email address entered matches a member's email, then the member's packages are available. If you fail to come up with an email that matches, so if their email does not match a member record, then it offers the option to join during registration. This next option, cross-reference members inherit parent member status and type. If this is turned on, any record that is cross-referenced to another record will inherit the rights, status, and type of parent member. So in this case, if a member record is more for a company as a whole, and the employees of that company are cross-referenced to that main company, then those employees would inherit whatever benefits that main company has with their member record. Enable quick add buttons for cross-reference members. If enabled, this will add buttons to the registration summary screen, which allows you to quick add any other members within that same cross-reference group. Using this is the same as adding another attendee normally, but instead this will also copy over and pre-populate information such as name, title, employer, and so on. People on this list will include other members cross-referenced under the same parent member or any members cross-referenced below the person who's registering. Allow pending members to register at member rates. If you choose to pend your members when they sign up, which would require admin approval, this will allow for those members who have yet to be approved to be able to get member benefits. Allow members to view attendees registered. So in the members area, if this is enabled, any member who signed up for an event can go and look and see who all has registered for the event, and they would be able to see what you would see normally with an admin view. Hide attendees registered by member type. If this is enabled, any member type that you select in here will not show up when any member is looking. And you can multi-select here, so you can click and hold Control and click multiple options, or you can shift click and mass select a bunch of them. Auto prospecting list adding. So upon registration, anyone who's not in the database already will be added as a prospect. This is useful if you're trying to gather a bunch of information so that you can enhance your newsletter list. Add additional attendees as prospects. This option works the same as the auto prospecting list. However, the auto prospecting list will only add the initial contact instead of all of the additional attendees. By enabling this last option here, add additional attendees as prospects, this makes it so that any additional attendees that were set up during the registration will be added as prospects to your database. The next tab here is Payment Options. So in here we have Offer Credit Card Merchant Account Payment. So this will be tied to your merchant account. Offer credit card payment by fax or phone. Offer e-check payment. This is only available if you're using authorize.net. Offer check payment, so the physical check option. Offer bill me, print invoice. Offer pay at event payment option. Offer a PayPal payment, and this will usually only be available if you're using PayPal. Offer push to store payment. Restrict non-members to online payments only. So if you want to make it so that only your members can pay online, then you can do that by using this option here. Skip payment method screen if only one method is available. This will help cut down on the number of pages that your members or just event registrants in general would have to go through to register for an event if you're only offering one payment method, like let's say online credit card payment. Enable prepaid discount option tied to member types. So for this, if you want certain member types to have a discount for events, you would just enable this option and it will allow for that to take hold. Enable token use during registration. If you want to use the online store to kind of sell like tokens to reduce the cost for event registration, you can use that option here. The next tab we're going to go over is this Invoice Options tab. Send invoices to billing email. If the member record has a different email set up as their billing email, then it will send the invoice to that email instead of the registration email that was used. Similarly to this, there's the use billing address on event registration invoices. If the billing address is different than the address that was listed, this option being checked will override that and send the invoice instead to that different billing address. Hide link to invoice on confirmation screen. If enabled, this will hide the link to the PDF invoice on the confirmation screen of the event. Attendees displayed per page on invoice. By default, it's 8 attendees that are on one page. So if you either leave it as 0 or you set this as 8, it will be the same thing. If you expect to have more than 8 attendees for some reason for your event registration, you can come in here and change this to make it compensate. These invoice receipt and invoice note lines, these are useful for if you want to have any kind of special notes that would be included on the invoice for these lines. You can just include the language here. The next tab here is confirmation and broadcast email options. First option, include online payment link in confirmation emails. This option will include a link that can be clicked to pay whatever unpaid invoice is there from the confirmation email after registering for the event. Include receipt and confirmation emails if paid. If the registrant is already paid, then there will be a PDF copy of that attendee's receipt in their confirmation email. Next is allow for HTML in the event description and confirmation emails. By default, the HTML is taken out of the event description when sending confirmation emails. If this option is instead enabled, then the HTML will instead display. Hide event description in the confirmation emails and summary. If enabled, the event description will not be shown in the confirmation summary or the email. The next option here, only display fields attendee selected in confirmation emails and summaries. Normally, what ends up happening is the fields that were selected will have whatever field or whatever was entered by the registrant, but it will also display what was not entered. So if there's any blanks, it shows the blanks. With this option being enabled, instead there won't be anything that shows up anywhere that they did not enter something. The next is confirmation email reply address. If a registrant replies to the confirmation email, then the email address that you enter here will be where those replies will actually go to. Suppress confirmation emails for admins. When an admin is manually entering in registrants and registering people, having this option checked will prevent any confirmation emails being sent out for anyone that the admins register for the event. Block current attendees from receiving event invitations. If checked, sending out an email about the event to anyone that is already registered for this event will not end up receiving those communications. Include add to calendar links in summary, confirmation, and invitations. The included links are for Google Calendar, Outlook, and iCalendar, so recipients can select whichever link will work best for their email client that they're using. Attendee messaging, only include individual attendee information. By enabling this, only information that's applicable to an individual will be seen by that person instead of the whole group if registering as a group. So instead of all of the information being seen by everyone, it's tailored more to that specific attendee. This next option here is Reminder Email Options. If you click on this checkbox here, then it will make it so that any copied reminders from the existing event or pre-existing event will not be active by default. The admin will have to go in and edit or make changes to it and then set the status to it as active for it to be sent out. The next tab here is the custom verbiage and alternate label options. There is a lot of different options here, allowing for different verbiage changes throughout the entire process of your registration. There's assistance verbiage, email lookup, login, for just a general login verbiage, member verbiage, guest section bottom, your packages, the full event, closed event, event unavailable, amount due email, contact information page, attendee information page, registration menu page, registration menu past events page, attendee file upload page, membership join page, receipt email, default payment method, default credit card payment verbiage, default payment by check instructions, default purchases, order payment page instructions, default booth registration instructions, view attendees from past events page, prior events registrations page, members only warning message if trying to register as a non-member, event registration summary page, registration map search page, event invitation RSVP link custom, event RSVP start page, RSVP end page, RSVP confirmation email. All of these options are available for you right out of the gate. If you're not sure where some of these will actually apply, on the right side here, in the parentheses, it will list out how it will be used. So event unavailable will appear if the event date has passed or the event cutoff date has passed. The verbiage you edit in here is what will show up when you're looking at this. This is what would happen if you click on that link to edit the verbiage. By default, it would be blank. And if you don't have anything, you can always come down here and click this check default verbiage to see what it would actually show up. Down here, enable per event verbiage option for forced login page. Enabling this would make it so that any verbiage that you change for that forced login page is different by event on an event basis. Underneath here, all of these alt label options, every single one of these, if you want to change what is at the beginning here, so organization, for example, if you don't want to say organization, you would enter something in here. So billing address would then replace everywhere that organization shows up instead. And that would be the case for all of these things. The next tab here is the global field options. Looking at this, you'll see that the organization and position fields are similar. Both have contacts and attendees, contacts only and attendees only. In all of these cases, you're just choosing to suppress the organization field in these first three cases for contacts only, attendees only, or if you want both, you do the first option. And the position field would work the same way. The first option would do attendees and contacts, the second would do contacts only, the third is attendees only. If you'd like to enable the mobile phone field, then you just check this box here. This would allow for broadcast text messages to be sent to the event registration recipients. And in order to do this, you will want to check with support to see if your organization has this option available to you. If not, this is something that you can talk to them about and see if you can get it enabled. This next option here is the default logo. So the default logo is already set, but you can specify your own default image here if you'd like. If you upload your new default image here, this would become your new default logo. If you'd like for your events to be a booth event, this next tab is where we're going to do that for you. The first option here, enable booth registration for events. By enabling this, this will allow you to be given that option to turn your events into a booth registration. Second option, display attendee information on the chosen booths. If someone is hovering over a booth that was already taken, then this would show who has ownership of the booth, so it would include their name, their logo, their organization, their company, any information like that. This next option here, hide attendee name on chosen booths. This would still display the other things like their company, their logo, things like that, but the attendee's name who has ownership of that booth would not be displayed. This next option, allow booths to overlap on the grid. By default, our system does not allow for booths to overlap on the grid. So by enabling this, this will turn off that functionality, allowing for you to overlap those to be able to save space on something like, say, if you wanted to do a catering section in the corner of the room as an L shape. You could do that and overlap those booths. This last option, disable website header and footer on booth pages. On the booth editor, if your web page is older or just doesn't want to play nice with the booth editor, then you can turn this option on and it will disable your site's header up here at the top and the footer at the bottom. This will instead maximize the space for that editor so that it will actually be able to play nice for your site and you'll be able to properly use it. For the portal options here, we have hide attendee email addresses on attendee list and portal, and add link to portal to allow attendees to send forgot confirmation code email. So for the first option, this will just hide the column for the attendee portal that shows the attendees' emails so that the attendees won't be able to see other people's emails who have also signed up for the event. The second option here will make it so that there will be a link included in the event portal for the attendees to send themselves the confirmation code email if they forgot their confirmation code. Next option here is survey options. Enable parent survey option on event surveys. If you want to set it up so that there is a parent survey that needs to be completed first, you would use this option. And with this option, you can manually overwrite it as an admin by just adding the attendee to the survey list, even if they haven't completed that parent survey. For the transcript options here, you have the ability to change where it says transcript to something else. You just put whatever it is that you want in this box here. Only add attendance entries with continuing education credits to transcripts. By default, it will include all of the attendees' selected fields. So any custom field that they've selected will be shown on the transcript, even if it doesn't give them any continuing education credits. If you check this box, only instances where it will give them some kind of credit would show up on the transcript. If you want to put the transcripts into landscape mode versus portrait mode by default, you would just check this box here.
If you want to use the alternate transcript layout, which in this case, this is more for those instances where there's a lot of continuing education credits that are present and you want to be able to better see all of them, you would just check this box here. And if you want to change the transcript verbiage at the bottom of the page, you can do that by just clicking on the edit pencil here.
Our last tab here is going to be the dynamic badge options. The first three options, exclude name badge, exclude receipt badge, and exclude itinerary badge. By checking the respective box, you will prevent that option from being printed. Include QR codes on badges. This option will include QR codes with unique attendee ID on all badges created on the attendee's dynamic badge. Only include QR code on name badge. If you're using QR codes for badge scanning, then enabling this will allow for badges to be printed with that code. Include position field and include organization field on name badge. Respectively, this will include the attendee's position and their organization on the name badge. If you would like to have that included, make sure you check that box. For numeric fields, create as many tickets as the user enters. If there's a numeric field, then enabling this field will generate those on the badge output. Enable badge logos for events. If this option is enabled, then it will let you choose a logo per event that will show up on the name badges for the dynamic badge. Auto print badges on load. If this option is enabled, the print dialog will pop up immediately when the dynamic badge PDF files are loaded. If you need to go back and look at any of these options, you can always click this blue information icon and it will pop up with a brief summary of what these options will do. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you have a great